Hello Stationeers, A.W. Cristales here, bringing you one of my first ever video tutorials. I'm making this video for double light switches. Now, I looked online and I couldn't really find anything about how to make two light switches work with each other. And I'll show you what I mean by that here in just a moment. Now, I could have been looking with the wrong catchphrases, but I just couldn't find anything to give me the answers I needed. It took a while, but I ended up finding a solution. At first I overcomplicated it. I just fixed that. So you'll see more wiring there than what needs to be. But by light switching working together, I mean this. I enter my area, turn on my light switch, can mosey on through, checking stuff, do whatever it is I need to do. And instead of having to go all the way back the way I came to turn the lights off, I can just turn it off. And this works so far every single time. I've not had a problem with it. And again, light switch on. And I'm going to show you how I have set this up. Now, like I said, I took a few components out because it turned out that I overcomplicated it. I put one item in that I didn't even need, and I put an extra thing in that was redundant. So this is the simplified setup, and all of it is I/O logic chips. All you need is 5. That's for a 2-light system. Now, mind you, if you have 3 or 4 or 5 lights, you're going to need more chips. And I'll get to that part in a minute. But first, let me go over what I have done. Now, I've labeled my switches east, west, and I've labeled my logic readers, logic writers, east, west correspondingly. Now, each reader reads the switches. Each reader reads the setting, whether it's on or off. You see setting 0, setting 0. Pop down here, switch that on. We got setting 1, setting 1. Now, with that in place, the next thing you are going to want to do is put down your logic writers. Now, your logic writers, what those are going to want to do is one logic writer will read the logic reader west. It's going to read your west switch. That means when you flip your west switch, it's going to send to the east switch to change it. And that goes in the same for the other one. You're going to read the logic reader east, which is reading the east switch. It's going to send it to the west switch to change it. And that is just the very simple way to make the switches change together. Now, since both switches change together, you only need one light logic for your switch. And like I said, I just found this out. I had made a previous video, ended up deleting it, because I found out that I had made it more complicated than it needed to be. So, here I have it selected for the west switch. Now it could be the east switch, it doesn't matter, because when you turn on one, the other one gets turned on. So it's going to read one of your switches, and it's going to write out to your light. In this case, the light. Now this could be, you could set this up for turning on your furnaces. You could set this up for turning on sorters. Turning on pretty much anything. Anything that falls underneath the output here. And you cycle through the settings until you get to the on. That way, when you flip the switch, it'll flip the switch on the other side, and vice versa. And at the same time, the other batch writer sends the message to turn the lights on. You hit the switch again, it flips this other switch, and it sends it to turn the lights off. Really simple. Not complicated at all once you actually get right down to the meat and bones of it. Like I said, I could make this a whole lot neater. I might just do that and reclaim some of this cable. But this entire setup now lights my arc furnace hall processing room. And I'm going to make a video about this arc furnace setup here. The automatic furnace, the power on switch, the activation switch, LED display of the quantity count, and all that good stuff that I have inside of here. I'm going to make a video on that. Probably make a video here of the sorter setup that I have. It's taken a while to get all this set up, but for now, just the simple light switch is good enough. And I really hope this helps anybody, even just one person, figure out how to get a double light switch to work. Now, to what I was saying earlier about a more complicated system. I've been thinking about this for a little bit now while I was listening to the original video. And it made me think that for every extra switch, number one, you're going to need another logic reader to read that switch. But you're also going to need another logic writer added on. So, like, as it sits right here, I need another logic reader, another logic writer. But if I understand the process correctly, and I'll have to actually test it to make sure, perhaps someone knows or someone else can even test it, but it would seem to me that you would need a secondary logic writer for every reader. So let's say I have a north wall light switch, which would read north switch setting. Then I would have logic reader north. Now, this is where it would get complicated, is you would need two logic readers, one to send to east, one to send to west, to switch both of those on. Identically, you'd need another one here to add on to this one to send to the north, so when you switch the logic reader east on, it'll switch the west and the north on. And when you switch the west on, you would need another logic reader to send to the east and the north. And for every extra light switch that you get together that you want to put in tandem with each other, you need to add an extra logic writer increasingly. So if I had north, south, east, west, I would need 1, 2, 3, 4. I would need 3 writers for this, 3 writers for this, 3 for this, 3 for this. And each writer sending out to each of the other 3 switches. Now, I will probably end up creating something like that later. If I do, I will make another video and show it. But for now, this simple 2-light switch will at least be a ground level understanding of how to get that to work. And that's, of course, if someone doesn't already have a better way to make 2 light switches correspond with one another. Like I said, I could have just been looking for the wrong keywords while doing my search. But here you are. 2 readers, each checking the switches, the settings, each checking the reader, sending to the opposite switches, changing them to open, and then your very simple light switch, and you only need one since they're all turning on at the same time. Checking one of the switches, in this case to my wall lights, powering them on. Quick and simple. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you understood what I have spoken. Sometimes it is hard to understand me. I tend to have a lot of issues with that. I hope I have been very clear with my pronunciations. And I really do hope that I at least help one person with this kind of a setup. And keep building, Stationeers. That's one thing that I like about this game is there's no limit to the imagination. You never know what you can stumble upon if you just keep being creative. So all of you have a good day or a good night and happy projects.